Hey and welcome to my channel, I'm Daniel and this is my rewind video for the year 2021. There's a couple things that happened this year and I think also for you should always have a recap in the end of the year to figure out what was the things that were good, what are the things that you accomplished, what are the things that you learned, what are the things that you didn't went well, but what did you learn out of them? Because sometimes we actually learn more out of the things that were not as good. And I try to give every year a specific name that describes what happened in the year. And for me, 2021 was personal development. But the thing is, since I started my world travel in 2015, personal development was always a big player, but never big enough so that I put it on number one. The thing is, if you start traveling, if you meet other people, if you go around, if you start building your own business, you will always learn so much about personal development and it will never stop. So it's not a complete fair word for this year because there were many things. But the reason why I chose this now is in this year, I went through a lot of realizations about myself and about my own mindset and my own belief system. But to that, I will come in a second. Let's start off 2021, January. Actually, I published my first book in December of 2022. I couldn't finish everything that I wanted to finish. For example, I wanted to have a printed version of my book and I wanted to do it on print on demand. Print on demand means that when someone buys my book, they can get it printed for them and then shipped to them directly. And there's a company in Germany, it's called BOD. They do print on demand. And the second problem that I had, my company wasn't registered in Germany yet. So this year I registered my company. Actually, the process was because of COVID took so long. I applied for that already in, I think, October of 2020 because I thought it will all be done when I released my book in 12th of December 2020. But it took until March of 2021 when my company was officially registered. The interesting part here is that at that time I was still living in Sweden. So at the beginning of this year, I moved with my ex-girlfriend. And now you get a hint what is actually happening. She was my girlfriend at that time still. We were living in Barcelona last year. I met her in Australia. She's from Sweden. I'm from Germany. And then this year we decided to move to Sweden. It was very interesting for me because I wanted to see Sweden. I've never been to Sweden before. Okay, it's not correct. When I came together with her, I was in Sweden for like 3 weeks. But this was the first time kind of living in Sweden. And it was a very interesting experience. Also, I learned that I didn't want to live forever in Sweden. But now looking backwards, it's not that I don't like the country. I think it's also because my own circumstances and I was in a lot of fear. But let's come to this one later. And also for Amazon, if you want to put your book onto Amazon, I could only do this after I had my tax number in Germany. So from the beginning of the year until March, April, I sold my book only through my own shop, which was actually good because the book was more expensive. And after I went to Amazon, because Amazon has this interesting strategy to keep the prices low, which is good for us consumers, but for someone who is in a niche and has to sell books where he knows that he will not sell a lot of books. For example, I sold my book because I know it's the best one on the market for 15 euros, the ebook version, and I went down to 10 euros because Amazon has this royalty system 70-30. So you get 70% of the royalty and 30% the cut gets Amazon. By the way, there's another rule to this. If you have the 70-30 model, they also have a delivery cost, and that is based on the size of your book. So per kilobyte, you have to pay a certain amount. And in the past, even if they never changed the 30-70 rules, every 2 years, they change the price of the kilobytes. Now you think maybe it's not that much, but if you make a travel book with lots of pictures, and you could actually end up only owning like 30-40% of the royalties. They have two systems. They have the 70-30 where you get 70%, or they have the opposite, 70-30, 70% goes to Amazon and only 30% to you. And there's two rules that apply to that. Number one, you don't have to pay a delivery fee. So it's good for books that are big and you would come down anyway. And the second rule is you can change the price to whatever price you want. So for the first model, 70-30, where you get 70%, you only can have the price for books until 10 euros. It's good for us customers, but bad for someone like me who wanted to be in a niche, because if I wanted to sell it for 15 euros, I would even make less money than now, you understand. After I had the company registered and I launched my ebook on Amazon as well and changed the prices on all platforms, I also applied for the print on demand stuff. By the way, it's not 100% correct because even in the time when I didn't have my company, I ordered by myself 25 copies of the book and sold those 25 copies through my own website. So at that time, I even had a bundle where you could buy the ebook and the book together, and that was actually the most sold one, and it made me more money. So now looking backwards, it was actually better to just have my own shop and sell the stuff through the shop. But positive, since I have the print on demand, because I'm completely self-published, I have my own audience, I have my own blog, I have my own marketing. That's why I went with self-publishing, because I keep 100% of the rights, blah, 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 blah. There will be separate videos in the future if you're interested in that. Just let me know in the comments. The interesting part was 15 publisher houses now bought my book and have it on store. So for example, if you go to a bookshop in Germany, because I have an ISBN number, you can order my book, and usually it should take up to a week because it's print on demand. It would be printed for you, but you can have it the next day, even on Amazon now, because some of those publishers, I don't know what they did, they never approached me, but what I think what happened is that they actually looked into this book, and they also looked at the marketing around, and they saw that my website is one of the biggest in Germany, and then it makes sense that the people probably will buy this book. That was very funny. 2021 was also the year where I decided I want to go all in on filmmaking and make filmmaking now my new business, my new diverse income source, because the situation in the world right now, it wasn't good for tourism. 2022 was a very hard year where I built another travel business and I had to stop that. I finished the book, which was good, but 2021 should become the filmmaker year. Jumping forward to now, I became what I did at the beginning of the year. I made a vision board and I envisioned my desk and my new camera and everything, all of this. So I made this, but it was a hard road, because the first couple of months in Sweden, living there, I was so much in fear and I doubted everything about myself. I doubted that I'm capable of building my business. I was doubting that I was capable of having a happy relationship. I was doubting that I even survive. I was like in a mindset stage where everything I did in the past, I didn't saw with proud, I didn't saw with what I achieved. And that's the thing with breakups, right? In June, it was a lot of pain, a lot of stress for both of us, I would say. But in the end, I would have to say this was the best decision, because only if we go through pain, you know the sentence with out of the comfort zone, right? But pain makes us move. So the pain of this relationship, to lose my ex-girlfriend Alina, was so painful that I had to move, that I had to change, if that makes sense. And even now, starting with the first couple of weeks after breakup, I realized a couple of things that were not positive in my life, that I wouldn't say like negative, it's a too strong word for it, but habits and mindsets that I still have in me, probably since the childhood, that affected how I deal with my problems and my environment, and things that just repeated. For example, the fear of failure. This is something I discovered. And the fear of failure, for example, is in a connection to two things. Number one, losing control. And number two, the two mindsets, fixed mindset and growth mindset. A concept I had never heard about before. I was listening to coachings from Mel Robbins. She's the most public speaker in the world. And in one of her sessions where she talked with another entrepreneur, she had the fear of failure, and the fear of failure made her stop and not really work on stuff. In short, the fixed versus growth mindset. The fixed mindset is the environment, and you think that you have talent and you either are successful or you're not. Like, it's basically black and white, black and white. And we all know that this is not true, right? You can work on a dream and achieve the dream, but our whole society, our environment, the people around you, your family, everything, when it comes to fixed mindset, can have an influence on how you see the world and how you see yourself. And it starts already as a child. So many times, even if you're logically thinking that you could change, when those moments happen and the negative spiral goes down, you are already trapped in your habits and in your mindset from the past. Fast forward now here in Germany, since a couple of weeks, I'm going to different seminars. I'm actually also in a program now where I get taught how to coach myself and also how to be a coach. And it's all about mindset. And it's also about your belief systems and trying to find those meta problems. I would say problems. It's just you try to rearrange them so that you see the world different. Because the thing with the growth mindset is when you have problems and you approach them and you understand that it's always the process that makes you successful, not the outcome that, oh, this was good or this was not good, so now I'm a failure or I'm not a failure. And this was many times happening with me. Still today, every time I finish stuff, I feel like a success. When I put myself something in the calendar and I don't finish it, I feel like a failure. This is one of the biggest realizations, and I started taking more money than ever in my hands to work on that, because I believe the success that comes in the future is depending on how I deal with my own mindset, my own problems, my own things that are inside here. And this is why I say personal development is the word for 2021, because I focused now so much on that. And a side effect is, for example, fear of failure. This was the reason why I never started working on my online course. I could have done this already in the first 6 months of this year, but the fear of failure makes you stop. And I even understand now why. So in psychology and coaching, we say that everything that you do comes out of a positive nature. So even something that is on the surface looking bad, like for example, fear of failure, oh, I'm procrastinating, I'm not working on my dream. That's stupid, right? What is the positive thing about that, right? But the positive thing in my situation was that the fear of failure, the feeling that is directly connected of being a failure, which probably comes somewhere in my childhood along the way, and I established those habits, is so painful for me. The pain is one of the highest, so high that sometimes I don't want to even live anymore because this pain was so high. So my body was protecting me by procrastinating. Think about this. So you procrastinate, so you will never have this pain. So it was choosing a path where I have less pain. That was the positive cause behind that. And I realized this already on the first seminar that I went through. And there's lots of more stuff to do. Going back to the online courses, after this first seminar, since that time I already published 3 courses and I'm working on course number 4. I started with simple courses. I didn't finish with the big one because for example, when you establish habits, one of the big problems that people do is they write down their list with, oh, I want to do this. They don't do anything. Let's say morning routine. They don't do anything in the morning. And then they say, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to read like an hour. I want to do this. And what happens? You start doing them and you suck. You don't do them. You don't finish. Why? Because it's not a habit yet. And your brain will do everything to protect you. It will take you out of those things because they are uncomfortable. And now your willpower is not strong enough to do this. So how do you approach this? You establish habits one by one and with small tasks. You basically rewire your brain. Instead of 1 hour reading, you start tomorrow with 5 minutes reading. And then you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. And maybe in a week, slowly you increase the amount that you're reading. So then over time, you come to your 1 hour if that is your goal. I, for example, still don't read an hour, but I have the habit of reading at least 5 minutes in the morning. That's the powerful thing, because if you have a habit, it stays there. Even in moments when you feel uncomfortable, if you feel unmotivated, if something is a problem, like my morning routine is one of the holy things in my day, and I just do it and then after I feel good. So when I did my online courses, I didn't start with the big course because the problem was too close so that I will feel like a failure again and then don't do anything. So I started with smaller courses that I could finish in a week, and now I have those wins under my belt. This is, for example, the same reason why I do my bed in the morning. I was listening once to a podcast from the Smart Passive Income from Pat Flynn, and there was this guy, I forgot his name, but he was in the military for many years, and he explained me the concept of why you do your bed in the morning. It's a small win. You do your bed, you have a small win, you continue to the next one, and this will make you feel better because you don't start your day by, like, for example, opening your phone and be reactive to life. No, you start by designing your course by, I make my bed, I do this, and every win that you do, you feel more comfortable. This is the reason why, for example, in my fixed growth mindset thing, every time when I establish and finish stuff, this is the best feeling I get. Every time when I finish stuff. And this is the same that you can do with those habits and things. Okay, so after the breakup, you know what, I'm just realizing I'm jumping a lot in this thing, but this is 2021. All of this happened in 2021. I moved back to Germany because my family and my friends are still in Germany, and this is one of the downsides of traveling long term, 6 years, and always changing the position. Like, for example, half a year there, half a year there. It's very hard to build deeper connections with people. And then on top of that, I did 2 things. I focused always on one person, which was my relationship at that time. And the second point is I focused on my business. So 2 things that even also take you time from building friendships that are important when you have those moments when you feel down, right? So for me, it was clear I come back to Germany. I don't know if I want to live here, but I'm now here back in Germany. I'm back in my hometown, right? For the beginning, I was living with my parents. It was a very hard time because I realized that we many times just it's like friction, you know, like friction. Also, since 17, I'm living basically by myself, and now even the world travel, being so independent, it's hard to have those frictions. And it was an environment where, and this is nothing against my parents, it's just, it was an environment where I couldn't be my best version. So I felt down, and when I felt down, I affect other people. So when I feel down, I make them feel down. And this is the friction I'm talking about. So you have to put yourself into an environment that helps you be your best version. This is, by the way, also a realization. I didn't have that in Sweden. But okay, I was free. Basically, I wanted to do something. I'm a digital nomad. So in August, I went to Montenegro. That's a country south from Croatia, also in the ocean. And for 1 month, we had an Airbnb with 3 other digital nomads. That was a very interesting time because, number one, I started working again, trying to believe in myself, and the surrounding was cool. But at the same time, I was also working too much. Hello, fixed mindset, growth mindset. And then I couldn't finish the things I wanted to do because I put too much stuff on my plate. I was too perfect again. So basically doing the same mistake, understanding that I have a fixed mindset, but not acting on it and trying to solve it. So I had a burnout. I was down for like 3-4 days and didn't know what to do. And I was basically sick 3 days long. And then I decided, you know what, I will not finish the work. I stopped the work on what I was doing because I didn't felt healthy enough. And I had to go into myself and just figure out what I want, you know. But I didn't have an answer there. That's very spiritual, actually, because in that moment, the universe or God was talking to me. 3 days after, I found dogs that were just placed on. I will make a separate video about this, but in short, I took a task that was given to me. There were dogs, 2 months old, and someone dropped them off on the streets. And Montenegro is famous for having lots of dogs on the streets and also lots of dogs that get killed and they don't have a really nice home. The animal shelters there, for example, if you bring a dog in a week, basically they let them there for dying and they don't really have food and whatever. So I was contacting an animal organization to help me save those dogs. In the end, we have 3 dogs. And I took them from Montenegro to Germany because in Germany they have a better life. And I started caring about those dogs so much that this gave me a complete different perspective. It was kind of interesting because there was a lot of stress. I was waking up in the middle of the night, helping the dogs. They had to go pee. They were not like, they were peeing everywhere. They were so cute, those dogs. But this stress was positive. It was completely different and not the self-inflicted version that I had because there was nothing about being perfect or not perfect. I was just there. And they gave me like this good feeling. It was basically my own therapy in that time. I had them for a month. I was traveling through Germany, finding new owners. Is a longer story, but in the end, I found 3 owners. My cousin actually took one of them. So one of those dogs is still in the family, which makes me very, very proud. Gray feet, because he had a gray feet. Anyway, okay, since that time, everything changed. I focused now on personal development, tried to put myself out of the situation, and I decided, okay, I have to also change my environment. A friend of mine, Axel, he told me like, hey, why not come back to Ravensburg and just we make a shared apartment. Started building stuff that I had on my vision board since the beginning of the year. For example, my desk I'm sitting right now, I was inspired to have one of those with all the lights, and I did this. I invested a lot more than ever in my personal development and in my camera gear. I started having different projects. The best one was the Volvo project, and I only got the Volvo project. Okay, I will not talk about this because there's a separate video. Watch this if you're interested in that, why and how I was able to get a Volvo project for my filmmaking career. Watch this. And then the biggest step since the last couple of months is that I focused now more and more on my business again, working, having connections with lots of people around me. So basically here in my hometown. And this is another thing. After those 6 years, I was always in fear. For me, it was like, oh, am I going backwards if I go back to my hometown? But the funny thing is, if you change through your journey, because you grow, whatever that case may be, like you are traveling, you're building a business, your mindset changes and you attract what you put out into the world. You attract those people. So now the people around me changed because I attract the same kind of people, the same mindset people. And this is why I see now my hometown from a complete different angle, a new perspective that I would have never seen if I would have never come back. So in that case, I don't know what the future brings, right? I still have the heart that wants to have adventures, travel, and we will see what the future brings, right? At the moment, I'm building my businesses. The goal for 2022 is now to focus on a couple of more Skillshare classes and my big filmmaking course, which will be Filmmaker Pro. Yeah, I would say that wraps it up. Obviously, there were a couple of more videos and I grew even this channel bigger, and that's it, I would say. This is the most important. See you in the next year. Daniel, I wish you all the best. If you watch this in the future, we make this together. like a phoenix, right? From the ashes. Okay, be quiet. Bye bye.